Hi, I'm Liz Schrum for the Wisconsin Technology Council, here with WisBusiness.com, the show. Just ahead, Tom Still talks about progress with the Badger Fund of Funds, and Paul Jaden, president of MadRep, discusses Wisconsin's regional economic trends. And now, here's this week's Tech Metrics. These snapshots of key indicators in the Wisconsin economy are developed by the Wisconsin Technology Council for its policy and news reports.
Ken Johnson, the veteran Wisconsin investor who is a partner in the Badger Fund of Funds, has held true to his vision from the start. Even before the Badger Fund of Funds was officially seeded in 2014 with a $25 million investment from the state of Wisconsin, Johnson described the early stage fund as money for minnows, to be led by young, regionally focused managers. In time, Johnson predicted, those 30-something managers would be seasoned enough to raise second and third funds, boosting return on investment for everyone, including the communities in which the funds were rooted. 2 years later, the vision shared by Johnson of Pittsburgh-based Kegonsa Capital Partners and his business partner, Brian Burke of New Mexico-based Sun Mountain Capital, is taking shape. Two announcements this month reflect the regional fund approach that persuaded the Wisconsin legislature and Governor Scott Walker to invest in the Badger Fund of Funds 3 years ago, well before Johnson and Burke were selected in a competitive process to run it. The Idea Fund of La Crosse was the first recipient fund to be announced. It will be managed by Jonathan Horn, a La Crosse native who previously worked in investment banking in New York. Horn, 32, once worked part-time for the Wisconsin Technology Council's Wisconsin Angel Network. The Winnebago Seed Fund was the second recipient fund to be announced. It will be managed by David Trotter, also 32, a northeastern Wisconsin native who most recently was a portfolio manager at Legacy Private Trust in Neenah. Just as the Idea Fund of La Crosse will focus on seed investments in western Wisconsin, the Winnebago Seed Fund will drill down into Wisconsin's Fox Valley, mainly Appleton, Neenah, and Oshkosh. Both funds must raise a minimum of $8 million in private dollars. The Badger Fund has committed to make a matching investment of 40% of any money the new funds raise. Also, both funds will invest in the newest of startups, regardless of industry sector. It's not yet known how many recipient funds will eventually be tied into the Badger Fund of Funds, but at least a half dozen and potentially more will be created if Johnson and Burke meet their milestones. By the way, that's why it's called a fund of funds. It's a network of smaller funds tied into the main fund. The law that created the Badger Fund of Funds came with red tape, but the fund is slowly taking shape at a time when Wisconsin is producing more investment-worthy startups in regions where such activity was previously weak. Let's see if Johnson's minnows grow into fish big enough to swim upstream in a competitive world.
We're back with Paul Jaden, president of MadRep, the regional economic development group that includes much of southern Wisconsin. Describe MadRep's geography and its basic areas of interest. In other words, where do you place most of your effort?
MadRep represents 8 counties in southern Wisconsin and includes Dane County and the 7 counties that touch it, roughly 1 million people. And we have a focus on 5 planks of our Advance Now platform that deal with economic competitiveness, human capital, leadership and diversity, entrepreneurship and innovation, and marketing. This year we're focusing primarily, however, within the economic competitiveness plank on international activities, on our IMCP designation, which involves investing in manufacturers community partnership, and on sector development. So we're going to be dealing with those 5 key target sectors that we have: life sciences, ag, food and beverage, information and technology, advanced manufacturing, and healthcare.
And why does Wisconsin need regional economic development groups? Is there a risk of unnecessary competition between the state's regions?
Well, the relationship with the state is very important. I think we have a very good working relationship with WEDC. We tend to be the boots on the ground for the state, and that means helping them with business retention and expansion, getting them leads for companies that might have growth opportunities or are worried about potentially leaving the state. And then, of course, dealing with a variety of international activities and other economic development things. We do the same thing with our partners, whether it be chambers of commerce, county economic development corporations, city economic development authorities, the private sector, and of course we work with education extensively as well. The thing that's probably most important to consider, however, when you look at regional economic development is the fact that here in Dane County, for instance, we have 43,000 people coming into the county every day to work, and we have about 19,000 people leaving the county. So when you consider that workforce development is economic development, we can ill afford to ignore all of those commuters, and we need to make sure that we're taking advantage of that part of our workforce to fill our skills gaps.
MadRep has worked with Madison Mayor Paul Soglin, the Tech Council, and the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce to bring the Kauffman Foundation to town for meetings. Tell us why that's important.
Well, when you consider that Kauffman has ranked Wisconsin 50th in the country for startups, and that we've historically had some concerns with that particular index, we've been working with them probably for 3 or 4 months to better explain what is going on here in Madison, get them to better understand our ecosystem. So they came to our summit last week on May 9th, and they're also of course going to be at the Tech Council entrepreneurial event the day before our summit. And then the third appearance that they're going to make will deal more explicitly with how they actually come up with their index. They'll give us an opportunity to respond. Myself, Zach Brandon, and Tom Still, of course, will be on that panel. Then there's going to be an opportunity for them to explore a little more what's going on in the rest of the country and what regions are getting it right. And we'll have an opportunity then for the entrepreneurs in this area to kind of respond to that as well and give an idea of what we're doing well as where there are some gaps yet. So I think it's critical to our ability to explain ourselves, brand ourselves effectively, but more importantly, move to the future with an eye toward doing it even better, because this is a part of the state that does, I think, have a very strong ecosystem for entrepreneurs and innovators, but clearly there's a lot of work ahead of us, and I think we want to make sure that we're becoming a best practice to whatever extent we can.
Thanks, Paul, and thank you for watching this edition of WisBusiness.com, the show. The show is produced by the Wisconsin Technology Council and WisBusiness.com, and sponsored by UW-Milwaukee and Exact Sciences. Visit our websites to read and learn more. I'm Liz Schrum of Talent But Executive Search. See you next time.